welcome back again to Mr. Sensible. Today we're going to have a look at crop circles, but before we do, a quick thanks to all my patrons. With appreciation to my patrons, including new patrons Blair Sadovitz, Brian Rulke, Critical Analysis, David Cooley, Duranku, Jason Downing, John Stock, John Tomczyk, Justin Neal, Lucky Jack Aubrey, Mark Adrisioko, Mike Apple, Paul M. Rowe, Peter Lennox and Tom C. And my newest patrons, Bjorn Kamitz, Edwulf Sledgeverter, James Holman, Michael O'Quinn and Strongle. Thank you all so very much. So, a lady called Spiritual Awakening is going to tell us about crop circles. She has an awful lot of woo on her channel, feel good sort of spiritual meditation type stuff, which is hard for me to comment on, but apparently there's scientific proof that crop circles are real and caused by aliens. Take it away, Spiritual Awakening, and roll VT.
Greetings, my dears, in love and light.
Oh, well, that's nicer than the welcome we get from Riley or Oakley, isn't it? Greetings to you too, my precious little pumpkin pie.
Crop circles, ignoring when ET says hi. The crop circle phenomena began in the 1960s, predominantly in the wheat fields in England.
The 1960s? Drugs and free love. I reckon, this is my theory, I reckon it's when people have gone for a little bit of hanky-panky in the fields and they've sort of crushed a bit of the corn, and it's a way of covering it up. And they're so high on these drugs, they decide to do psychedelic patterns. There you go, there's my theory.
A more frequent occurrence from the 1970s onward, crop circles increased in number and complexity and are still commonly found today.
Oh, so bang goes my 1960s drugs theory then.
There is concrete scientific evidence that genuine crop circles are not human-made hoaxes.
Oh, cool, because I've not been able to find any evidence that that's the case. Are you going to tell us then?
Yet the mass media still portrays them as such.
Well, that could be because several people who make crop circles have come forward and said, hey, we make crop circles, and they've shown us how they've done it.
The messages contained within them are of hope and intelligent consciousness.
Are they? To me, they just look like geometric shapes that you can make with pegs, strings, and boards.
Given these are possibly messages from an intelligent race, how can we still be largely ignoring them?
Perhaps because they're not messages from an intelligent race. Not very intelligent just to go around stomping crops, is it? And every single one of those behind you is different. What does any of them say? Can you translate?
They are intricate shapes and designs pressed into crops as the plants are reaching maturity, best viewed in their entirety from the air.
Well, just look at that pattern behind you. You can see the directions that the people who've made the circle, you can see the directions that they've flattened the corn as they've worked one section at a time.
Some are as large as 10,000 square metres and involve complex arrangements of shapes and symbols. Instead of relying on eyewitness statements of unexplained activity, crop circles are evident on the ground and can be examined, measured and photographed from the ground and the air.
Excellent. So unlike ghouls and ghosties and things like that, we can actually go there, feel it, touch it, measure it.
Crop circles are found predominantly in wheat, but also grass, barley and oilseed rape. Debunkers have blamed pranksters and whirlwinds for creating crop circles.
Well, the fact that some pranksters have actually come forward and admitted it, with regard to whirlwinds, I can imagine a whirlwind could flatten an area of corn, possibly in a near perfect circle, but there ain't no way a whirlwind is going to make those intricate patterns.
The whirlwind theory was disregarded by the 90s when complex shapes other than circles such as symbols and fractals began to appear.
Told ya.
Crop circle experts, scientists and professors examine the phenomena yearly and find common themes that confirm their authenticity.
Did you know that, like the people who study UFOs are ufologists, the people who study crop circles are seriologists? Really? But I don't think there's going to be many professors who waste their time studying knockdown corn.
Characteristics that pranksters simply are unable to reproduce. True crop circles are flattened with exactness, not trodden upon, and have clean edges and often an outline that lays in the opposite direction to the inner shape.
No, they don't just tread the corn down. They use big boards and flatten it, so you get it all evenly crushed down, and not just bashing it down.
Lines are always perfectly straight.
String.
Perhaps the most striking feature is that the stems of the plants are not snapped or broken. The stems are bent over with no breakage.
Well, these aren't dried out crispy sticks of wheat. The plants are growing. In fact, they're green, so they'll bend. And as I said, with a big board, you're just going to flatten a whole bunch at the same time.
And thorough testing indicates that accelerated growth occurs at one point on one side of each stem, causing them to deform and bend. There are changes in the plant stems at the molecular level.
So are you seriously suggesting that every one of those stems of wheat or corn within that very, very particular patterned area all start growing more on one side than the other to flatten themselves? And it all happens overnight? Really?
A similar effect could be produced using microwaves. The plants continue to grow until they are harvested and grow much healthier and stronger than others.
I think that's a bold-ass assertion. For a start, if the corn is flattened down, it's being covered by the corn next to it. So I fail to see how it can grow better than the normally upright growing corn. And secondly, I don't see how it's going to be harvested unless you did it manually, because a combine ain't going to pick it up.
Magnetic energy fields and radiation are detected at genuine crop circle sites.
Really? Is there any evidence for that? I didn't see any links in your description, because if there really was extra radiation in the areas of crop circles, someone would have said, this does look real. This does look really, really worrying and unexplained. This couldn't possibly just be some couple of Joes with a board, some string and some pegs.
Where the magnetic field reads up to 300% stronger within the formation than outside it.
Ditto the radiation. Any evidence? Any links?
Scientists found that when a container of distilled water was placed inside crop circle formations, the water molecules memorised the basic data contained within the formation and actually arranged itself in a similar pattern on a molecular level seen through a spectrograph.
So this distilled water has memory and decides to rearrange itself. I've had a look on Google and I can't find any references to this.
Pranksters will be unable to reproduce these formations, especially as crop circles always appear during the course of one night, in darkness.
Actually, I think you've just debunked yourself. It happens just in one night. So none of that guff about plants growing too much on one side so that they fall over is going to happen in that short a time period, as I mentioned earlier. And also those shapes are all exact geometric patterns. So if you work out where to place your pegs, where to stretch the string to, you can make circles, you can make straight lines. There is nothing to say that it couldn't be done.
Sometimes up to 15 crop formations are reported in England at once, making it an impossible feat for even the most highly organised large prankster organisation.
Well, if you've done 6 impossible things this morning, why not round it off with breakfast at Millway's, the restaurant at the end of the universe?
The media do not report the scientific facts behind the phenomena. It's possible that potential proof of extraterrestrial life could send humanity into a panic, and those in power wish to prevent this.
I can just imagine the panic. Oh no! Oh no! Aliens have come and flattened an area of corn.
Professors of mathematics studying the topic believe that given the perfection of the designs and the accuracy in which they are pressed into the crops, there's little chance they could be hoaxes.
I don't suppose you care to name some of these professors? 2 or 3 of them? One of them?
From the 1990s onwards, highly intricate crop circle formations appeared, detailing complicated geometry corresponding to complex mathematical equations and models. Fractals were seen, shapes that can only be obtained by running mathematical calculations through a computer.
Wow. Well, perhaps the pranksters ran mathematical equations through a computer.
Many crop circles represent patterns created by sound waves, and others display sacred geometry, mirroring arrangements common to monuments such as at the Pyramid of Giza, Stonehenge, and the monuments on Mars.
Excuse me, but your woo is showing.
Symbols belonging to ancient cultures and civilizations have also been pressed into the crop circles, such as the symbols for Egyptian cultures, Aborigines, Celtics, and Native Americans.
So now these aliens are using symbolism from our ancient past. Why?
The most common theme is, of course, the circle, which historically represents to many cultures the oneness of creation. There are solar representations too, depicting the sun in various forms. A sun with 33 rays is said to represent the end of a cycle. The sun is at the end of a solar cycle at this time, corresponding with the Earth's shift in dimension.
And we're...
The number 33 also marks the end of a phase for an initiate, perhaps indicating that humanity is at the end of an initiate phase or time of progression.
Out of here. You started off with a nice little idea that you said was scientifically proven about aliens sending us messages by pressing down our breakfast cereals. Having failed to produce that evidence and just make some bold-ass assertions without citations or links, you then have to go all woo on us with multi-dimensions, energies, and the number 33.
It's common for a black, unmarked, unidentified helicopter to show up at crop circle sites, believed to be government or military aircraft.
Right, stop that! Silly!
Quite right, Major. Very silly indeed. Look, you seem like a lovely lady. I've watched a few of your videos. A genuinely nice person. You can have your beliefs of energies and levels and goodness knows what. That's fine, as long as it makes you happy. But you can't just say things are scientifically proven without showing the evidence. And do you not think the simplest answer is likely to be the correct answer? And in this case, a few students with bored string wanting to have a bit of a giggle? Or aliens in a covered up conspiracy trampling down crops, making them radioactive and highly magnetic, and the government knows all about it and doesn't want us scared? Which do you really think is the most likely? Well, I hope you've enjoyed today. Something different again. If you haven't already, remember to like the video. Consider subscribing by hitting mini-me down in the corner and hitting notify. And until next time, stay sensible.
Shut up and sit down.